Pretrial detention continues to be prevalent in Nigeria and across the country. My name is Juliet Onwura, and we are on the streets of Abuja, knowing the thoughts of and minds of people on what they think about pretrial detention. Pretrial detention is being remanded when a person is being remanded without proper investigation, or when a person is in jail before a trial or before investigation.
What I think about pretrial detention is that I really think it's unfair. I mean, a lot of guys these days we just have issues like different cases of police just arresting them for no reason, without trial, without anything. You don't have any investigation, you don't have any cause to arrest them, and you just take them like that and detain them for no reason. I have a friend of recent who spent about 2 million for a case he doesn't even know about. They just saw him on the road and they just picked him, and that's not fair. It's not nice.
The police that deals with civil matters and in relation to crime in Nigeria that will know actually whether this particular case will have to detain somebody before taking the matter to court. But within the context of a lot of issues that we have in Nigeria, where young people from first sight, you will just bungle the person to prison before trial. I think it's inhuman, so to say. I think it's sad. I think it's one of these issues that precipitated the NSAS movement, or NSAS, how would I put it, protest that we had a couple of years down the line. But summarily, one of the reasons why this is even an issue in our society, in our political space, is because of the failure of the Nigerian state. Failure of the Nigerian state in the sense that the fundamental human rights of Nigerians are not being respected.
Oh, there's nothing wrong like asking them a question, for invites. When you invite people and to seek their opinion, why are you doing this, why are you doing that? Like unnecessary arrest, I kick against it. I will say no to it. You understand? Because everybody have rights. So know your rights and know where you stand. But police coming to harass me or arrest me unnecessarily, it's a no to me.
In the case of them arresting Yahoo boys, fine, I'm not against them arresting Yahoo boys, but there are a lot of young people that are in prison that are not even Yahoo boys. You get, if you go to the prison now, you see that there are a lot of young boys or young people that are there that they don't even know what they did. Sometimes they'll just go, do mass arrest, that they are looking for some Yahoo boys and arrest innocent boys. And in this country, you can't, as a young boy, you can't dress fine. If you dress fine, you're a suspect. If you put on your ring, you're a suspect. If you plait your hair or put on dread, you're a suspect, you're a Yahoo boy. But meanwhile, there are also a lot of young Nigerians, young youths are doing like both photography and, name them and so on.
As citizens share their thoughts on pretrial detention, some had stories to tell.
2021, when I was coming back from my village in Bori, I was boarding a bike. So on my way, police, they just blocked me, took me from the bike. They didn't allow me to even express myself. They beat me, put inside their van. I was like, so what happened? They didn't allow me to say anything. They were like, how much do I have? I was like, pay you for what? Exactly, I'm a student TV, so I declined. I was not going to give them 1 naira. Then when I get to the station, I'm going to call my boss and I will be released. They said, okay, no problem. Do you know they kept me for 24 hours? Till the next day, they took me patrol for the whole area, patrol the whole Ogoni. I said, oh, then at the end of the next day, they took me to their station. I wrote statements, and that's why they allowed me to make a call. They seized my phone. Not just me, as we are going, they were looking for farmers, even people that were going to farm. They were chasing after them, they went to Gambo unit, they unarrested.
I'm an artist, So I have tattoos, I have dread. So there was a night I did a painting for someone I wanted to go deliver around 8 o'clock. So when I was coming back, I got stopped by some police officers. And they asked me where I was coming from. I actually told them I went to deliver a job, and they refused. And then they started calling me I was a Yahoo boy. They were harassing me. They took my phone. They didn't even allow me to talk. Like when we went to the station, the Oga there said he knew me that I'm a Yahoo boy. I said, sir, I'm not a Yahoo boy, I'm an artist. But due to the fact that I have tattoos and dread, the man refused. So this is how I got detained until the next day. After everything, they now asked me to go. So when I wanted to leave, they refused to give me my phone. Then I said I should go and bring a receipt for the phone. I went back home, I took my receipt, I brought it to them so that they would give me my phone. Then I said I have to go back, that like it will have to take them 24 hours to verify my receipt before they will give me back my receipt, so and my phone. So after some like because that happened on Friday, so it took me throughout the weekend. I was not having phone. All my customers were unable to reach me until Monday before they were able to release my phone.
It was around after 11 on almost getting to my house. So I saw some policemen at the junction. They were like, from where? I have to explain myself. This is from where I'm coming from. They were like, enter the car. Just like that, officer, before you know, they start slap. They took us to station. We were like two, me and one of my friend like that, a female. So they took us to station. From there, they did not even ask us anything. At the end of the day, we have to bail ourselves, which was not that funny, because it was not funny at all. That was my first experience. I felt so bad.
The fact that made me not to carry the case up or to even think about anything is that I felt we are in a Nigeria where the law doesn't actually work for the masses. So that was one of the reasons why I didn't bother to stress myself going to look for a lawyer or even going to any of the authorities to report what happened to me.
It's not necessary. It's against human rights. Understand? They're violating your rights, arresting you without giving any reasons. When I asked them what's the reason, when we get to the station, they were telling me that I'm a suspect. Suspect of what? They couldn't even say anything at the end. But most of those that were arrested were paying money, and they freed them. But me, I refused to pay.
Over 70% of pretrial custodial cases, with 1/5 of them in prison for over a year. A lot of people have faulted the police for unnecessary arrest and police brutality on cases of pretrial detention.
Hello and welcome to 360 Youth Dialogue. Like I always like to start, if it's concerning the youth, we are talking about it here on 360 Youth Dialogue. My name is Juliet Omura. August 12th has been designed to celebrate International Youth Day, and for some youth, they have been denied justice and delayed future post, and it's been based on pretrial detention. Now, for me, in my own layman understanding, pretrial detention it's the detention or keeping someone in prison before trial. But I'll let our guests do majority of the talking here. So we have a good hand for this segment, for this show, and I have here Barrister Kenechukwu. He's a law lecturer at Bayes University, Abuja. He's a secretary for the International Bar Association, and he's a human rights law committee, right?
Yeah, the secretary of the Human Rights Law Committee.
I mean, such good hand I have here, and I'm trusting that you have a lot to say about pretrial detention, especially among the youth.
Yep.
So good to have you here, sir.
Thank you very much. Good to be here.
Very honored to have you here. So let's start. Let's just go straight. Let's start with the basic. Under Nigerian law, when and how long should a person be tried before or detained before trial?
Okay, so when we talk about pretrial detention, we are looking at holding people before their trial is concluded. So when we talk about pretrial detention, we are talking about persons who are held pre-arraignment, that is from the point of arrest to the point when they are arraigned. We are also now talking about persons who have been arraigned, but their trial is ongoing. And we are also now talking about people whose trial are ongoing but has not been concluded. So, and that is the difference with our own classification of pretrial detention in Nigeria. If you go to the correction centers, to the correctional service, inmates are classified as awaiting trial and convicted persons, right? So until you are convicted, you are awaiting trial, which is largely what we call pretrial detention. Persons who have not been tried, persons who are kept pre the commencement of trial, or the or trial has commenced but not yet concluded. The person has not been found guilty, so he is awaiting trial. He is pre-trial.
So how long should this whole detention take?
Constitutionally, nobody should be detained. Though our constitution said at the police station or any detention facility for longer than 24 hours or 48 hours, where there is where the distance between the police station and the court is much, or on a weekend. So you shouldn't keep people beyond 48 hours before you take them to court. But the problem is that we have challenges with our judicial system that makes trial slow. So you take someone to a court who may not even have jurisdiction, what we used to call holding charge before the coming of the ACJA. The ACJA has been able to say, okay, no more holding charge. But we see that happening. So where they keep people, where they take people to magistrates who do not have jurisdiction to try their matters, and the magistrate says, look, I don't have jurisdiction to try your matter, but I remand you. I order your remand until they are able to take you to a court of competent jurisdiction. So that is on the one hand. But most of the issues that happen with pretrial detention is that, yes, some police stations and some policemen will tell you, look, we've been able to grant this person bail, but he's not able to perfect the bail conditions. Or we've been able to just, remand this guy, and the guy is now out of the police station. So they have beat their 24 hours, 48 hours timeline. But what then happens is, between when the person is kept there to when the trial concludes, nobody can determine.
So it's not regulated, it's not dependent on anybody.
24 hours, 48 hours from your point of arrest to the point of arraignment.
Okay.
So if you're looking at it pre-arraignment, then that is the timeline. But post-arraignment, it depends on the dynamics of the case and how it works.
Okay, speaking on dynamics of the case, on what grounds should someone be remanded?
Legally, there are so many reasons why you keep people who have been accused to have committed crimes, persons who are defendants in a crime. One of such reasons is to protect them.
Okay.
Imagine a situation where somebody has been accused of theft in a locality and he's not taken out of that locality.
Okay.
The people are going to mob him. The people are going to deal with him. So to protect and preserve that person, the law allows that person to be kept. Secondly, when a person is a flight risk, when you've committed an offense and we know that, look, this guy can run away, especially in Nigeria where we don't have functional address system. You ask someone where he lives, he tells you behind the chief palace, beside so and so church, beside so and so mosque. Where is the beside? The guy can decide to move away. And if the person moves from Abuja to Sokoto, we don't have a good database either. You are most likely not going to get to that person again. That's one of the reasons for remand. Again, the initial conception of keeping people in remand is not all bad. But in the application, I feel that in application, you find that a lot of persons are now abusing the pretrial process. Because keeping people pretrial is holding them till you're able to find whether they are guilty or not guilty. But because we cannot determine that length of time, because our courts are not yet technically where we want them to be, they are not fast. I'll give you an instance. There were two people I represented in 2018, 2019. They were arrested for, charged for being members of a terrorist organization, Boko Haram.
Okay.
But one of them was arrested long before Boko Haram was proscribed.
Oh, interesting.
He was a Boko Haram member before Boko Haram was proscribed. So that guy was arrested in front of a mosque in Maiduguri. He sells recharge cards. He was arrested. The trial went on. The second person was arrested about the same time. The trial went on. The two of them went home the same day. But what you find interesting was that one of them went home as a free man because he was not found guilty. after 5 years. I met them after 5 years, right? Now, the second person was found guilty, but he also went home. He was found guilty of some counts of the charges that were leveled against him. But he was asked to go home because he had spent the time he would have spent in prison. Now, the guy who was innocent, who was not guilty, what becomes of him?
Exactly. He has
Those are
wasted
some
5
of the
years.
those are some of the dangers of a pretrial detention. You also find that we keep both people who are awaiting trial and convicted inmates in the same custodial centers. Someone who is a petty offender, who was arrested by Environmental Protection Board in Wuse Market for loitering or for,
Just something
not
basic.
knowing, or maybe even like one that was jailed for stealing power bank. A power bank of not more than 6,000 naira. The lady was kept in Kefi for 3 weeks for power bank, right? So imagine that person now going into a facility where he interacts with persons who have really been found to be criminals. What do you do in that respect? That's a challenge to the society. And like I like to tell people that, look, it was Nelson Mandela that said that the society is viewed not by how they treat their best, but how they treat their most vulnerable. These guys who we are sending to prison, or we are sending to custodial center, like we have baptized the names now, we no longer have prisons in Nigeria. We now have custodial centers and correctional centers, right? So if this guy who has been there and comes back, the goal is that they will come back one day to join the society. How we treat them there will affect the quality of citizens they will become. And when they come out, you know the implications of that.
So still on treatment now, from your experience and the cases you've handled, what's like the worst case, or how are they treated inside, coming from the correctional center officers and also from inmates?
It's a terrible situation, and there's a movie that was recently, done by Legend Golden Care Foundation, and that movie talks about the dangers of pretrial detention. I took my students to see that movie one day, and most of them were all crying. Now, that movie is just a depiction of what happens. You can't actually know what happens until you get in there. Now, naturally, by the Mandela rules, what we call the Mandela rules, right? These are rules that make you look how to treat detainees, how to treat prisoners, right? Guidelines on how to treat prisoners. When you are in detention, your only right that is supposed to be deprived of you is your freedom of movement. That is why you are in an enclosed environment. But in a space where 15 people share a room, you will see that their right to human dignity is being violated. In a place where people are met, how much is it again that the federal government said they used to feed one person? As a person who is living free, can that amount sustain you in a day? You begin to see that these are the issues that now come up. Recently, you also see that, for a fact, our custodial centers are very old. Most of them are over 100 years old, 80 years old, 60 years. Most of them are colonial centers. Most of them are pre-independence, right? So the quality of the structure is not there. You see a prison, a custodial center that has the capacity of taking 300 persons, housing about 900 persons. How is that supposed to operate? Then there is even no program when you get into the detention center. Well, it's meant to be that when you get into a detention center, you are enrolled in a program that you come out from, and you know you are reformed, you are a better person. But when you are pre-trial, which program would they enroll you in? They don't even know the date you will leave. They don't even know. So while they are planning for people who are convicts, there is no real arrangement or plans for people who are awaiting trial.
Very correct.
So there are a lot of things going on there. And we can also deny the fact there are a lot of arresting and detaining agencies. Most times we focus on police. There are so many other institutions. There's the DSS, there is NAPTIP, there is NDLEA, there is customs, there is immigration. They arrest and detain people. Have we taken a time to go and look at what their detention centers look like? I visited a police station in Yola, and I almost couldn't breathe. I was suffocating. And I had to ask the DPO who was there. He told me that, look, even his own office that looked like, was painted,
Manageable.
had a desk and a table, he did the repainting with his money. I came out from there and I asked, yes, we can't leave everything to government, but we need to hold government accountable while calling on people to also support. These are human beings, for crying out loud. When they come out, they will still relate with us. How do you expect someone who has been treated that way
Badly.
to see others as human beings?
So let's talk about who would you fault? Like you've mentioned before, I would think that, oh, it's the police with their unnecessary arrest and all that. But who would you fault when it comes to pretrial detention and the treatment?
It's a comprehensive, it's a shared liability, really. It's a shared fault
So it's
line.
not just a one-person
It's not,
point.
no. You can, the issues around pretrial detention and our justice system largely are very convoluted. They are not, you can't say this is the reason, right? And that is where we've been getting it wrong. Because most times you see the police is pointing fingers at the judiciary. The judiciary is saying, no, it's the police. And then corrections are saying, oh, their own is just to receive the people who have been sent to them. What is their own inside? But you look at it from the point of arrest, and I say this, if the funnel is closed at the point of arrest, less people will go into detention. Now, when you before you make arrests, have you conducted investigation? In this part of the world, we arrest and then start investigating. We arrest and sometimes we don't even investigate. We just carry people and throw them in somewhere. So from the point of arrest, you would see that, the ACJA says, ACJA is the Administration of Criminal Justice Act 2015, says that when a person is arrested and the person is giving statement, that there should be a recording device.
Okay.
There should be a lawyer present or anybody of the choice of the person present. And the question now is, how many of our centers in Nigeria, how many police stations have recording devices? So the government has a responsibility. Nigerians have a responsibility. We can't keep blaming Nigeria every time, blaming our government.
Okay.
Our government, people who are in the government today, we are ordinary citizens yesterday.
Exactly.
So what is our value system as a people? If we don't value human lives, we won't treat these files as people. And then the judiciary, the people, the Ministry of Justice, the prosecutors, they keep files until they understand the value that each file they keep is a human life.
Exactly.
So I think, and then for us, even the citizens, we don't even know our rights. We don't even know what the law says. So you can be arrested for any flimsy thing, and you're not aware.
So does this mean that when there is an arrest, you should know your right on what to do or what to say at
When
that
you're
point?
arrested, you have the right to be told why you are arrested. And you have the right to insist on having your lawyer present before questioning.
But we're looking, okay, let's talk about police brutality at this point. We're looking at this case where at that point, you're told, we've seen a lot of youth being unlawfully arrested. Just they stop your car or they stop you anywhere and tell you to enter into the hillocks or into the vehicle or whatever. At that point, if you resist, we've had cases where they kill the victims or whoever. So how can the citizen come to know their role when it comes to this, especially the youth? Looking at ENTAS now, how a lot of people were just packed into the prison, and a trial have been, going on and gone about that. How can the youth know their right, and what role do we play in ending this whole stuff?
First and foremost, I would say that it's not in every circumstance that you use, force to resist. Wisdom is profitable to direct, right? That is to say, look, there are times when just intelligently get the name of the officer.
Okay.
When the whole deal is done, you get a lawyer. There are so many non-profits that are into providing free legal services. Get a lawyer, complain, see what has happened, and see if the police force will not deal with the officer in question. The point is, and I'm not trying to say that to justify what some of the policemen do. No. But what I'm trying to say is that, look, if you match violence for violence with someone who is armed with a gun, you are in a big trouble. Because if the person is trigger happy, you'll likely be gone in the grave. And maybe it's when we are doing candle procession for you that we are now beginning to deal with the police officer who has done that. But
We're not hearing
quietly,
justice for whoever.
quietly get the name of the person or get the station. Just know your facts. Gather the facts while you are there. Gather your facts. Get your story straight while you are there. Once you come out of that situation, you follow it up. Right? You follow it up. But if you watch the police officer, and most times, when they arrest you and take you to the police station, don't be trying to argue with and this is also because it's an enlightenment session too for Nigerians. When your friend or anybody has been arrested, don't go arguing with the IPO or the persons who have done the arrest. Get to the station and insist on seeing the most senior officer.
Okay.
I said, no problem. I want to see the DPO. I want to see the DCO. You want to see the most senior officer there. Most of the senior officers are way more enlightened than the younger ones, than the junior officer. So those ones are, that's when you begin to reason with them. You don't reason with the man who is trigger happy. You don't reason with the man who all he knows is to shoot and go. You reason with someone who is able to hold a conversation with you. But for the young people, these days we have social media. If you can, get a picture of the person. If you can, we've seen police officers who have been, who have been dismissed following that. Yeah. So my advice is, and then where Nigerians can learn, like we're in the world of technology, right, and advanced learning, yet there's a lot of illiteracy. There's a lot of ignorance. People need to seek the right knowledge. Seek the right knowledge. And I call on schools, introduce in civic education. Don't just teach our children how to be humble, how to be obedient, how to be good
and
children.
The national anthem.
Teach. Man, let's not go there. But teach them like the basic constitutional rights.
Yes.
The basic human rights. They will grow up to become better citizens.
Okay, let's talk about this. There are some cases, like you've enlightened us now, there are some cases where just straight from wherever they arrested you, you find yourself in prison. So there's no time to have a conversation with the DPO or have a conversation with anybody or, do this whole little stunt you've told us to do. So what do the person do at that point?
I'm not sure they're allowed to throw you into prison from arrest. They can put you in a police cell and then take you to a magistrate who will remand you. Because there is no custodial center in Nigeria, legally, to the best of my knowledge, that will admit you without a remand order. But we've had instances where we've had corrupt magistrates who issue remand orders in advance to the police officers. So that's what happens. They take you to their station and then they use that thing to go and remand you. But we are working with the corrections to see how best they begin to verify remand orders, right? And when that happens, let's assume that you found yourself in the custodial center. Each custodial center has a welfare officer. Speak to the welfare officer. Yes, okay. They have a welfare unit, they have a record unit. Nigerian Correctional Service has improved, and I must give them kudos for that. They are one of the most digitized institutions we have in the country. There's something called Corrections Information Management System, SIMS. That is why you are able to know who has left the prison.
Okay.
That's how when there's a jailbreak, you are able to, you see them releasing that list. That's how they're able to do it. So there's a record unit, there's a welfare unit. Let them know that you need a lawyer. If it's your own lawyer, you have fine. If not, they call some of us who provide free legal services. And we go there and we help you with it. But for me, I always believe that it's a living man that can tell his story. It's only the living that can say praise the Lord.
Okay, I like it. I like the way you put it there. But let's personalize this now from your personal experience. What's the worst case scenario so far that you've heard about, pretrial detention and the rest?
I've seen someone who was kept pretrial detention for 10, 11 years. And later was found not guilty. So imagine wasting 10, 11 years of your productive life. Imagine the person was 18 or 25 when they were arrested.
Oh my God.
11 years will be 36 years old. By the time they are 36, and they've spent that productive years in incarceration.
So, in cases like this, do the government provide, should I say compensation for this?
To the best of my knowledge, not at the moment.
So it's sad because I'm
It's a terrible situation.
it is.
Like the case I told you that I did in 2019. One of the guys who was arrested for terrorism. There was nothing. The court just apologized, and you wouldn't blame the court.
So that's like
And that's a
10 years.
separate case, yes. But where there is a nominal complainant,
Okay.
say for instance,
What does a nominal complainant?
nominal complainant is the person who has been offended, who has reported,
Okay.
right? Where there is a nominal complainant, right, and the person has been, so there's something called malicious prosecution.
Okay.
If you're found innocent, if you're found not guilty, you can then bring up an action against the state for malicious prosecution.
Okay.
Right? Now, that is where you can now claim some, rights, claim some money, claim for some damages, and all of that, right? But when there is a nominal, so justice is three-way. We are supposed to see justice for the state, justice for the victim, and justice for the defendant. It's not just, so that tripartite thing is where there is a nominal complainant and you've reported falsely, and the person sues for malicious prosecution, then he gets some compensation, which is a separate action in law, right? But where, for instance, is this case of, loitering, cases that, who is going to be compensated, who is going to compensate them? We're supposed to have what we call the Justice Fund, the Criminal Justice Fund, according to the ACJA, but that is not available. That fund is even to make sure that we are monitoring the criminal justice agency, but that fund has not been set up yet. So there is no compensation for victims of prolonged pretrial detention.
Okay, let's look at Section 33 of the Nigerian Constitution. It guarantees that no person shall be deprived of their life intentionally, except in the execution of law court sentence following a criminal conviction. Yeah. So, who is actually overseeing this, and how does the criminal justice play part? How does Nigerian Constitution play part to ensure the safety and the welfare of these pretrial detainees?
Okay, so when you're talking about right to life, their life has not been deprived of them because they are not dead.
Yes.
No one is sentencing them to death, right?
Yes.
And no one can take their lives, right? But what then is life without the quality, without a good quality of life? There are institutions by law that are created to make sure that these rights of that human rights are actually preserved. We have the National Human Rights Commission. When there are issues around torture, violence, and all of that, they can come in. When people's human rights have been abused, they can come in. They are also the monitoring agency to check Nigerians' compliance with international human rights standards. We also have the Administration of Criminal Justice Act Monitoring Committee, ACJMC. ACJMC was established pursuant to the ACJA. Now, that committee is responsible for overseeing the criminal justice actors to ensure that there is equal access to justice for everybody in line with the ACJA, and also to ensure that the provisions of the ACJA are largely implemented. Now, the ACJA, we celebrated it about 10 years ago in 2015 when that act was passed because it was novel. It has enormous provisions that helps with enhancing access to justice. For instance, women are now allowed to stand as shorties, which did not happen before that. Arrest by proxy was also criminalized. You know what is arrest by proxy? You do a thing and I come and pick your friend, I pick your brother, pick your husband, pick your wife. I say until you provide this person, we won't release you. That has been put away. Now, the ACJA did something which is very interesting. It put timelines. So, for instance, now, you cannot take adjournments in a particular case more than 5 times.
Interesting.
In a particular criminal case. You can't, because the ACJA says no. You are entitled to 5 adjournments at most, and not longer than 2 weeks interval.
Okay.
The ACJA also talks about day-to-day trial. to speed up access to justice, to speed up trial processes, to make sure that delay in trial itself is actually taken off. The ACJA also provides that magistrates should visit police stations to make sure that there is nobody who is kept there beyond the statutory periods. And in Abuja, I must give it to the judiciary, our magistrates are doing that. And that is that is helping us to make sure that nobody is kept longer than they should at the police station, right? So there are institutions, right, that have been kept to make sure that the rights of Nigerian citizens are adequately protected. But I think we need to do a lot more with adequate capacity development for them.
Those in
the people who are in these agencies, the people who are in these organizations. I mean, the recent incidents within Comfort and Ibom Air, I wrote a piece and I said that on no account should someone's right to dignity be taken. And it was stunning to find some people come under my comment section to say, look, why was she dressed that way? Somebody said, why was she... I don't know if I'm allowed to say that in on air, but I'm like, why is that a problem? The right to human dignity is the only right that does not have any exception. It's an absolute right. Because dignity is what makes you human. Even the condemned criminal must be treated with human dignity. A condemned criminal must be... And when I talk about condemned, those who have been sentenced to death.
Yes.
Even the way they will be killed will be in line with court order. It's not just because someone has been sentenced to death that you now decide how you want to hang the person. The court will tell you how you will kill that person. The right to human dignity does not admit of any exception. So that someone is dressed somehow, you now accuse the person of being a Yahoo boy. Or someone is dressed somehow, we now begin to treat the people the way you like. We need a comprehensive training and overall training for our security officers, for people who are even working in human rights protection spaces.
Very correct. So I want us to drift a bit when it comes to dignity, the right to dignity. We've seen cases of, what's it called? Jungle justice, where they literally strip the person naked and all that. That actually questions the right to dignity too, don't you think?
That you're correct. I mean, it's absolutely wrong. Jungle justice is not allowed. It's not approved. It's a crime. It's a crime. You don't. So when they say someone's life, if you take a life, your own life will be taken. It's not you. No court has, no law has mandated you as a Nigerian citizen to take the life of another. No. But there is a law that empowers you to arrest a citizen. As a private citizen, you can arrest and hand the person over to the police. So when you see someone committing crime, you have a duty to arrest that person, but hand the person immediately over to the appropriate authorities. If you take that person's life, your own life will be taken.
Okay.
And like the Justice of the Supreme Court said one time, he said, look, it's God who takes life, who gives and takes life, but it's our duty to send you to God.
That's a funny statement. But we'll be right back with more of interesting conversation. Please stay with us.
Thank you very much.
On 360 Youth Dialogue, so far I've been having a wonderful conversation and an enlightening one, because right now I feel like a young barrister. I mean, it's just... I'll be called to bar maybe next week or so. Watch out for me. I've been here with Barrister Kenechukwu and we've had a wonderful conversation about pre-trial detention and the entire justice system. So initially, I didn't want to start with what do you think about pre-trial detention? Because I want you to say your perspective and then what's the solution to this whole thing. How would you personally define pre-trial detention, and is it necessary part of the justice system, or can it be abused?
Well, I will start by saying it is necessary to an extent.
Okay.
The challenge we have with it is the prolonged use or the abuse of pre-trial detention.
Okay.
Like I mentioned earlier, persons are detained to even preserve their lives. Persons are also detained to save the society. Persons are detained for so many good reasons, but then the abuse of it is where the problem is.
Okay.
And my solution, one, would be, look, technology. Can we make trial of cases faster?
Okay.
If the judges stop writing longhand, matters will end faster. Imagine that these are our conversations. As you're talking, I'm writing. And as I finish writing, I wait for you to write before I respond.
I mean, it's going
How
to
many
take
cases can a judge take in a day? Our dockets are filled. Our dockets are loaded. Our judges are overworked pretty much. Technology would help. Appointment of more judges would help. But one key area that would help is for us to look at the entry point, which is the point of arrest. Can we have, so we started something sometimes back, what is known as the police duty solicitor scheme, which is where we have lawyers in police stations, making sure that persons who are arrested, their rights are kept and all of that. And that made sure that a lot of people didn't go to prison. Because imagine where there is a lawyer at the point of arrest.
Very correct.
So there's also, we should also do investigative training on proper investigation for our criminal justice actors. Let's teach people that you must investigate before you arrest. I also think that we should tell our law enforcement agents to stop to stop allowing Nigerians use them for debt recovery. We should stop using the Nigerian police to, as a private instrument. Someone is owing you. You now go to the police. And then, you understand. And the police will now call it obtaining by false pretense. Or they call it criminal breach of trust. And arrest the person.
Do you know, this debt, I don't know, I find it very funny. It's not funny, but I find it really funny because I've had a lot of incidents and cases where people are thrown into prison and forgotten for years. Maybe they will send them to another state or another place, and they spend long time there.
Recall the power bank incident I told you.
Exactly.
And guess whose power bank was stolen? A lady took the power bank of her sister's boyfriend. So it's not even like she went to a shop and took a power bank. So there are incidences, and I also think one key thing we need to look at is to begin to decriminalize petty offenses.
But decriminalizing petty offenses won't it make it more rampant because people can take things and...
When we talk about petty offenses, issues like loitering, wandering, someone who doesn't have a home is going to loiter. Did you provide a home for the person?
I don't know.
So when you now talk about, if we also look into the use of non-custodial alternatives,
okay,
that will go a long way. If you came into my court and I'm the magistrate and you told me that, actually you took this power bank, I don't have any reason remanding you. You've made my work easier by not letting me go into full trial. What then do I have to do? I can ask you to sweep the court premises for 1 year or for some weeks. Or I give you a non-custodial punishment that, also deters other people from doing what you've done.
Yes.
If people see you packing refuse in the street for 1 week, you think they will do the same thing you did? You understand? So we need to actually encourage our judiciary to, begin to use non-custodial measures effectively.
I was coming to ask your alternative measure.
Yeah,
you've already
that's a good point. Use non-custodial measures, then differentiate, classify our custodial centers.
So they should
Let's keep people who are, pretrial different from persons who have been convicted.
Very correct.
Let's not put them together. For the sake of our future as a nation.
So do you think there is, even after they've come out, supposedly, do you think there is an effect it happened or does to them, their mental health and their family and all that?
Of course, their mental health is affected. They are stressed. There are, some family members don't want to relate with them again.
But they were found not guilty.
People don't know that part of the story. Would they be going around telling everybody I was found not guilty, not guilty? But they know you have been in prison for 5 years. Oh, that one, it's a whole lot. Reintegration is an issue that nobody is even really talking about. They come out. How do they get jobs? When you want to go for interviews, they ask you, have you ever been convicted? Have you ever been detained? Have you ever been... Look, nobody is talking about how these guys are reintegrated. But they're going to get reintegrated one way or the other.
How?
I mean, the first pro bono case I ever did, I got the young boy out. He was 19 at the time. Or they claimed he was 19 because, from my perspective, the guy was younger than that, but he didn't know his year of birth. When we got him out and we went to Kuje prisons, to Den prisons to get him out, you know, the correctional officers told me that this guy will come back home. We hadn't even left the place when he told me that he forgot something inside. I said, what did you forget? He now started crying, telling me that he doesn't have where to go. He doesn't have, nobody's going to feed him. So he rather stays here where he'll be seeing food. So recidivism is also another issue that comes up. Like I said, the entire pretrial process it's something that needs to be dismembered and dealt with to have an integral overlook of it.
Very correct. Now let's look at detention before trial and after trial.
Yep.
Where do you see the biggest contradiction in Nigeria justice process?
Keeping people who have not been found guilty longer than they would have stayed if they were found guilty is a contradiction. You have claimed that someone has committed an offense that if he is found guilty would just be for 3 years or 4 years term, right? But you use 4 years to do the trial, then find him guilty. Or you use 5 years to do the trial and then find him not guilty. The person has served for what he didn't do. So for me, that's a great contradiction. And then we are becoming a society that is less humane, less interested in human beings being human beings. I'm more interested in pursuing things that really do not matter. I don't think there's anything more important than the life of any human being. The life of any citizen. The life of any citizen is very critical, no matter what the person has done or have been said to have been done. You must treat people as human beings.
So looking, even people that have been found guilty.
Yes, because they will serve their time and they will come out.
Okay, let's talk a bit about integration and reintegration. How do you think people, detainees, inmates, convicted, not convicted, how do you think, especially the youth, looking at the amount of time that have been wasted and delayed in prison or in cell, how do you think they can be reintegrated back into the society and have a stable life?
The most critical thing to say is that 95% of the people who are in Nigerian correctional centers are young people. So when we're talking about pretrial detention, we're generally talking about young people. Because it is their youthful age that is going to be wasted, right? But a good way to reintegrate will be by Nigeria starting a program within the correctional systems. And once you come in, you're in that program, and a holistic program that says at your point of entry, an assessment is carried out to find out what are your needs, because each and every individual has a special need. What are your needs psychologically? What are your emotional needs? How can we be able to help you navigate through this process so that you come out a better person, right? And when they come out, you know, they should know that that's not the end of the life. That's not the end of the world. And then people should welcome them with open arms.
Exactly.
I mean, I'm involved with some organizations who are at the moment trying to set up a halfway home where we can, you know, help people who come out of detention centers pass through that phase of, you know, trying to help them reintegrate, get a bank account, get them registered, get them back into society. In other countries, the government run re-entry system that allows people to re-enter, to get back into the society. So we need them to reintegrate really, and really quick too. Why do you think that is during elections, when elections are close by, that you have more prison breaks? And why do you think some governors who have not visited prisons from the beginning of their tenure, once it's time for the election, then you now hear they have visited the prisons and they have granted pardon to some people?
I mean, you saying this is making me point fingers towards.
You will find the
some
answers
places.
yourself. I won't be the
Very
one to.
good. Okay, let's
I
move
won't be
forward.
the one to
Okay,
issue this answer.
if someone is found not guilty after spending it, we've talked about this. We've talked about compensation and all that. But looking at NSAS, you know, they've actually charged the federal government and they've been a compensation, so to say.
Yeah, that was a separate issue.
So
like
what
you
made
saw,
it
there was a panel that was set up to look at, you know, the human rights abuses during that program and compensation given to people who are victims of the SARS brutality, right? That's the one of, so like I said, if you're able to prove brutality, so that panel was basically set up for people to bring their complaint. They were investigated, and people who were found guilty, some were sacked, you know, and government had to provide compensation for the others. And that was the very first point I made, that look, when you're in a situation, find a way to get details and not get into a fight. Get details and take it up afterwards. And thank God to social media. Young people can use social media very well. You will get the person who will they drag you like tiger jail.
Very correct. I mean, this has been a very, very, not just enlightening but funny conversation. It's not funny, but it's funny.
I mean, the issues are very, very
laughable.
Yeah, because it's not the usual. It's not what it should be. And when you see it, I mean, we should begin to, as a country, rethink how we deal with the human beings.
Very correct. But now I want to talk about, you said about the panel and all that. Let's look at a very, 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 should I say poor, or someone who doesn't have anybody to talk to, or someone who doesn't have a, like this young boy that you said that went back. How can they, you know, come up to make their complaint?
There's a legal aid system in Nigeria, led by the Legal Aid Council. The Legal Aid Council is set up by the Legal Aid Act of 2011, right? That act was set up to provide free legal services to people who could not provide, and it's government funded. And like I said, the Nigerian Bar Association and other, you know, lawyers forums are also open to providing free legal services to people. But people should speak out.
So how do they assess this?
So for Legal Aid Council, they have offices in almost all the states of the Federation, right? And even in some local government areas. Right? Of course, they need funding. They require more manpower. They require so many things, but they are there. The system is there. Then people can also now reach out to, you know, any branch of the NBA. NBA has branches in, you know, the 36 states of the Federation and more. So they should reach out, you know, speak up, you know. Traditional rulers should also begin to help us. Religious leaders should also begin to, you know, help. When people get to you, don't just tell them to forgive and forget. Because that person they have forgiven and forgotten is going to do something to another person. It's going to destroy
without knowing.
Life. Yeah. I know that our resilience is stretchable as a people in Nigeria, but we should come to a place where we are able to stand on our ground and say, look, this should stop. This should not happen. It will be painful in the initial years, but eventually we'll get there.
Very correct. You know, today I saw in the papers that the federal government is calling on philanthropists, NGOs, organizations and all that to partner with them to decongest these cells. How can all partners, and you made mention earlier that Nigerians, not just Nigeria, how can Nigerians partner with the federal government, philanthropists, the NBA and other agencies to, should I use the word, decongest the prisons and cells?
Yeah, what we can do in the first place, there are so many people who are in prisons because they owe fines of just 2,000 naira, 20,000, 30,000, 40,000. Nigerians can come together. I mean, at Base University where I lecture, we have a law clinic, which is for law students. They belong to the law clinics, and then we visit custodial centers. We pay fines for some of these people, provide free legal services for them. So if you're not a lawyer, you can't provide free legal service. Reach out to, you know, some lawyers who are doing this. You can give them, you know, with your support, they can now engage more hands to get that happen. You can also, you know, help decongest by providing fines, paying the fines of some people who are there, petty fines. So many of them have now changed in the prison. So they've repented, they've shown remorse. So we support them. The other way is also we should begin to see how we can support government to build new facilities. And I'm not saying building new facilities for our security agencies to arrest more people. No. New
Very
facilities
correct.
to decongest the current process that we have.
Yes.
And I mean, there are so many of us who are very open to helping people put together their thoughts on how they want to do that aspect of their philanthropy. It's not just throwing money at the prisons. That won't work. You must have a well thought out plan, have a well thought out strategy, and your set out objectives that you want to achieve, your goals you want to achieve at the end of the day. Yeah.
Very correct. I mean, you've spoken really well, very, very well, enlightened, and made it fun. Like if law school was this fun, I would have gone. I really would have gone to law school. But looking at you made mention of something now that. What of people that are not repentant? Let's say, okay, you're able to pay their fine or they're able to come out of prison. And we heard of just one incident. He came out of the prison and staged a robbery again.
That is why I had mentioned that we must have a program for them, people who are in the prisons.
So this program...
You must have a program, psychological, emotional.
Okay.
It is the therapist who will say, oh, look, this guy has...
repented,
yes.
For real.
At the moment, they have welfare officers in the corrections who will tell you, oh, this is of good behavior. You know, the corrections have the powers to, there's a way they do your calculation if you have good behavior.
Oh.
Yeah, so if you say you're going to stay 10 years, you may not stay the entire 10 years.
Oh.
Subject to good behavior, right? So it's being monitored. But I think there's a lot of... The people who are in custody require a lot of psychosocial support. They require psychosocial support, really. But people who have been found guilty, who have, who we think the court thinks, in the wisdom of the court, are criminals, have done crimes, should serve their terms. I mean, the essence of serving the term is not just to put them away, but to reform them. So if the person came out and went back into robbery, it means he was not reformed.
And that actually questions the correctional centers.
Exactly. Or whether it's just a correctional center by baptism of name, where we change from prisons, or we are actually now correcting them. It's supposed to be a correctional center, which is a place for reformation.
Very correct. Thank you so much for joining us here on 360.
Thank you so much, Juliet.
So, to our audience, to our wonderful viewers, justice delayed sometimes is justice denied. But with pretrial detention being on the ravage, and it's been continuous because of what I would call, what's the word? I can't go back to the law school. I can't go to law school right now if I keep missing my words. But unnecessary, let me use the word unnecessary, prolonged arrest and unnecessary
overuse of pretrial detention. Really.
Unnecessary arrest and overuse. Thank you for that word. Overuse of pretrial detention. But with what I am getting from this whole conversation, before now I thought pretrial detention should just be scrapped out. It's not necessary and all that. But how you've placed the whole necessity of it made it a very wonderful thing to differentiate the prolonged and pretrial detention. Thank you again. Thank you so much. And to our wonderful audience, it's been a pleasure having you here on 360 Youth Dialogue. Remember, if it's concerning the youth, we're talking about it right here on 360 Youth Dialogue. If you've been, if you've been a victim of this whole case, you can comment in the comment section or send us an email anonymously to share, or follow us on, or send us a DM on our social media handle to share your story. We're always open to hear from you here on Third Eye Africa TV. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Juliet Aura. Bye for now. Have you ever been a victim of crime? Were you robbed, scammed, betrayed, or harmed, and left with a story the world needs to hear? Do you want to tell your story for impact and awareness? On True Crime Story, we let you speak with your safety and privacy respected. We give real people the platform to speak their truth. We're documenting true stories. Join us. Your voice could be the warning that saves someone else. Your story matters. If you've lived it, we're here to listen. Reach out to us through our social media platform at Third Eye Africa TV or send us an email to share anonymously. Reach out to us through our social media handle at Third Eye Africa TV or send us an email at thirdeyeafricatv@gmail.com to share anonymously. Follow True Crime Stories here on Third Eye Africa TV.